My husband's best friend lied about being in an open marriage and my husband supported him. When I first started dating my husband, one of his best friends was a lying, cheating buttface. Buttface was the first in their circle of friends to get married and have children, but he still went by himself with a circle of friends to an annual week-long camping party event where he would cheat with multiple women, some as young as 17. His circle of friends politely ignored the outrageous behavior because he told everyone he had an open marriage. His wife would stay home to take care of their young children, which seemed odd, because the camping thing was very inclusive of children, but being male, none of them thought to question him about it. This behavior had gone on for several years before I came around, and was accepted as normal by the circle of friends. I was the first girlfriend to be included in the camping event, and things started out a bit rocky for me the first year with Buttface. He ended up yelling at me when his latest side chick overheard me discussing his marital status with my husband, and the side chick promptly dumped him because of his lack of full disclosure of his marital status to her prior to their recreational activities. Functional adults will be shocked to learn Buttface's wife did not know they had an open marriage. Specifically, Buttface's wife did not know he was banging other women at the campground while she was 6 months pregnant with their third child and was home watching their other two during the second year of my attendance. How did we find out Buttface had been lying to everyone about his open marriage? Buttface's wife confronted me on our return in front of everyone to ask about her husband's behavior on the trip. Since I knew she was pregnant, and he had been having unprotected intimacy, I answered her truthfully, "All I have to say is if I were you, I wouldn't let him near me without him wearing a rubber." My first answer to her had been, "Shouldn't you be asking him that?" And she had said, in front of everyone, "I'm asking you, because I know you will tell me the truth." She was right. She was pregnant, he was an idiot, and her kid didn't need to have disease issues because daddy liked it better without protection. It was a tough call, and you may not agree with it, but I stand by it. Besides, open marriage, right? The open marriage liar was caught out in front of everyone when Buttface's wife went ballistic and said many things, all of which made it clear that his open marriage existed only in his mind. To say I wasn't Buttface's favorite person after that would be an understatement. He and Buttface's wife were apparently able to patch things up and recover from the debacle, and Buttface was still someone who was important to my husband, so he and I were polite when the regular social events of our circle of friends required it. A few years later he did end up being a groomsman in our wedding, and caused some problems with his plans for the bachelor party, which should entertain the drama llamas here. Buttface wanted to burn me in effigy as part of the bachelor party celebration. One of the other groomsmen was told, became properly horrified, called husband, and that was one of our wedding fights. Both of my brothers were invited to the bachelor party and I would like to think they would have been offended on my behalf, but either way, I put my foot down and announced if it happened, Buttface was out. Hubby was still, "If Buttface isn't in the wedding, there will be no wedding," while I was all, "If Buttface pulls that stunt and you are sticking by him, damn right there will be no wedding." But it didn't happen, and our wedding did, so water under the bridge? Lest you think I was special in Buttface's eyes, he later almost derailed another wedding when he wanted a funeral theme for another bachelor party complete with casket, and the bride was offended by the insult. Thankfully, the relationship between my husband and his old friend began a natural course of drifting apart. Time passes, and then my husband's best friend lied about being in an open marriage and my husband supported him. Miserable marriages don't fix themselves, and Buttface's wife were in one. He knew it, but apparently, she didn't. Somehow, Buttface found a new girlfriend, Lauren, and apparently this helped him not be a total jerk at home, and Buttface's wife, who didn't know about Lauren, truly seemed to believe the things they were doing to strengthen their marriage were working. I was not her friend, but there were occasional conversations, and she would periodically check in with me over the years, always with profuse thanks for my candor during that rough time when she was pregnant with their youngest. So, you may ask, how did I know about Lauren, when his wife didn't? He started bringing her around our friend circle and introducing her as his girlfriend. This time he didn't try to feed anyone the open marriage lie, he just casually expected his friends to entertain her because, hell, I have no idea why he thought they would go along with it, but the guys all did. This particular friend circle was a bunch of gamer guys who were gradually bringing women into their lives. I had been one of the first after Buttface's wife, and one of the odd things about this gaggle was not a single one of them had any sisters, so maybe that's why they were so challenged when it came to decent behavior about women and relationships. Honestly, I don't care. Buttface was very careful to not bring Lauren around when I was there, but he blew it when he tried to introduce Lauren to my hubby, who told me later he was in shock and didn't know what to do, left a little earlier than expected with a polite excuse, and came home to discuss it with me. How do you handle it when someone you care about wants you to welcome his new secret girlfriend? I wanted Buttface cut out of our lives, but hubby had loyalty to him, and didn't want to do that. They were brothers by choice and not blood. Hubby and I had some major fights about it, because to me this was all kinds of wrong. Hubby talked to Buttface without Lauren around, and found out Lauren was comfortable with him being married / had no concern about his kids. Buttface didn't necessarily want a divorce, as in his words he still loved his wife, and Buttface had no plans on revealing his secret girlfriend to his wife. Buttface genuinely wanted his friend circle to get to know Lauren because he thought she was just awesome. Hubby and I had some major fights about this. There was no way Lauren was coming to my home, and I wasn't going to socialize with either of them while they were together. This was a compromise. I would be civil if it was just Buttface, but if he brought Lauren anywhere, hubby and I would leave, and that meant hubby leaving too. The situation wasn't ideal in any fashion, but Buttface had managed to involve the rest of us in his marital drama, and now it was causing problems everywhere, as everyone ended up being forced to take some kind of side in the situation lest decades-long friendships be shattered. Personally, I was ready to go thermonuclear on the whole lot of them, but to be fair, they had been hubby's friends before we were together, so I didn't have the same history. I just saw them as kind of being scum, and since I had thought better of them, it was painful. Update 2: My husband's best friend lied about being in an open marriage and my husband supported him. The casualness with which Lauren was welcomed into the friend circle was extremely upsetting to me. In several cases, members of the friend circle were actively participating in providing Buttface with cover for his relationship with Lauren. One couple explained they liked Lauren better than Buttface's wife because she was more entertaining with better social skills. Other members were shrugging their shoulders and just trying to stay out of the crossfire. Women with less group history were confused because Buttface's wife wasn't really around a lot, so they thought he was a normal single guy with a girlfriend until they had begun developing a relationship with poor Lauren as one of the other girlfriends while I wasn't around as much because of my unpleasant disapproval and refusal to socialize around Lauren. I couldn't help but ask the obvious question: if the friend circle were willing to lie and welcome Lauren for the sake of Buttface, would they be comfortable doing the same to me in my marriage? This question offended my husband. I would never behave like this, he stated, which would bring up some issues from our past, and cause more fights between us, which made me more insecure, and even more hostile to the people creating this situation. Lie down with dogs, get up with fleas, I said to him. Why hang out with people who think this is acceptable, if you don't agree with it? And he would remind me of how Buttface had been a good friend for many years before all of this happened and was closer than blood as a brother by choice. Poison spreads. My stance on refusing to socialize with Buttface and Lauren was ridiculed by some and caused damage to other relationships. Even though I wasn't telling people who they could socialize with, I was just refusing to participate. I was being judgmental and prudish, and oddly enough, people who were okay with marital infidelity were not okay with me not being okay with it. To this day I am still comfortable with the stance I took, which for me was about my own personal integrity. The situation helped me to clarify the boundaries I was comfortable with, and the ones I wasn't willing to cross if I was going to be true to my own vision of myself as a decent person. The line wasn't intimacy, the line was deception. I didn't pick up the phone and call Buttface's wife. My rationale was she knew he had cheated on her in the past, she had stayed, and I had no interest in being the messenger who was going to get shot for telling her what was going on behind her back, but I wasn't going to participate in normalizing this relationship. It was a horrible, horrible situation. It went on for months, and then the wedding happened. Update 3: My husband's best friend lied about being in an open marriage and my husband supported him. The couple who provided cover for Buttface to cheat on his wife with Laura got married. The bride-to-be and I had talked several times, and were friendly but not close, mainly because I was distancing from her as she became closer to Lauren, but everyone was looking forward to the wedding. The wedding finally happened, and it was beautiful. Buttface and Buttface's wife were there, along with their 3 children. I relaxed a bit because I assumed the cheating drama wasn't going to visit the wedding. I had been anxious, but apparently the married folk were doing well, so no cheating drama, but I was wrong. While the pictures were being taken, Buttface's wife and I were chatting. Buttface's wife explained the reception was adults only, so she was going to have to take the kids home because they couldn't afford a babysitter. We both looked around at the other young children who were still at the church, but assumed they weren't going to be at the reception. Buttface's wife and Buttface had discussed the fact he was going to be staying at the reception because of his close relationship with the groom. She was bummed, because she was feeling very isolated, and had been looking forward to an evening with adults, but she was putting a good face on it. Money was tight after all, especially with the husband in the bridal party. I got a very sick feeling in the pit of my stomach. They wouldn't, would they? Oh yes. They did. The reception began. Buttface's wife took their kids home, and Lauren stepped in as Buttface's date. I will never forget looking over and seeing Lauren sitting on Buttface's lap at the reception and literally making out during reception. I will never forget how awful I felt, as I realized I was participating in the public humiliation of a very nice woman, and her 3 young children. I will never forget seeing members of the friend circle laughing with the 2 of them. I will never forget how my empathy kicked in, as I realized I was being made an accomplice to their lies. I briefly talked with my husband. He asked what I wanted to do. I asked him to wait a few minutes. I went up and took a dance with the groom, who was very happy and a little tipsy. I asked if he knew what was going on, and he smiled and said yes, they'd planned the reception to be child-free so Buttface and Lauren could be together. I looked at the other children who were still there and realized the bride and the groom were lying scum. You should be ashamed. You 2 have created some bad karma, I told him, and then I walked off the dance floor. I walked up to the bride, told her congratulations, and I hoped she was comfortable with the karma she was creating. I also told her she should be ashamed of what she had done. I did not create a scene. I spoke quietly but firmly. What they had done was wrong. We left. The saddest part was I knew Buttface's wife considered these people friends. She had welcomed most of them into her home for almost 10 years when this wedding occurred. Her sons called several of them uncle, and yet the members of the friend circle had looked at her with barely concealed scorn and pity while laughing with the woman her husband was cheating on her with at a wedding reception, while she took their children home because she respected the bride and the groom's child-free reception request, all while they were plotting a special evening for Buttface and Lauren. Update 4. My husband's best friend lied about being in an open marriage and my husband supported him. My friendship with the bride and the groom never recovered. A few months after the wedding, Lauren got sick of being the side piece and demanded Buttface tell Buttface's wife. Buttface's wife handled it with more class than I probably would have. She actually asked him, "If you wanted a divorce, why didn't you just say so?" Truthfully, I think she was a bit relieved to know she hadn't been losing her mind when she kept being suspicious of his less and less believable lies. The two were divorced, and Buttface married Lauren pretty quickly. I didn't go to that wedding. My husband was invited. He made an appearance for the wedding but did not stay for the reception. There was no joy in the occasion for my husband, and while I do not remember it, I am confident my contempt for the situation was not something I was silent about at home. The relationship between hubby and Buttface wasn't the same as it had been in the olden days, and honestly, that was a relief. Time passed some more. A few years later, Buttface's new marriage was having issues. He kind of knew there were problems, but the big train of clue was when he walked into his home and discovered Lauren having intimacy with another man. In their bed. She explained her reasoning for cheating. Apparently he was not earning enough money to satisfy her, and it came out she had been cheating on him for a long time. Buttface was shocked and devastated. He then tried to talk it over with one of his best friends, his now ex-wife, bitterly bemoaning how Lauren could have hurt him like that by lying and cheating. And then he noticed the look on ex-Buttface's wife's face, and the bricks of reality fell upon his head. He apologized to her. He apologized with a sincerity that was long overdue. And then he called me to tell me he had apologized to her, and to apologize to me because now he finally got what a crappy thing he'd been doing. His ex-wife called me too, and shared the apology. It was a nice circle of closure, even though it was years after the original incidents. Buttface is on his third marriage and seems to be an absolute piece of crap. He is by now in his 40s and his wife is 22, they've been married about 3 years now. And karma is real. I warned the bride and groom that covered for Buttface back in the day, and my prediction, unfortunately, came true. After 16 years of marriage, and one beautiful child, the two experienced a period of financial difficulty. The groom took a job in another city for the income and joined a new friend circle. He met another woman, and his new friends liked his new girlfriend much better than the wife they never met. His teenage daughter came to visit, discovered the affair, and the marriage blew up. So, the bride in this story got to live with public humiliation and cheating and people liking someone else better than her, and not caring about her marriage, or her child, or the effects her spouse's infidelity would have on the family they created together. The divorce has been finalized, and now everyone just has to live with the aftershocks.